back, listeners and viewers, to another week of Deducation, the Teachers Talking Terror podcast, where Mike
and Courtney
are here to talk about the granddaddy of all zombie movies, 1968 George Romero classic Night of the Living Dead. We've already covered a remake of his sequel, Dawn of the Dead. Like we talked last week, these zombies are different than those zombies. These are slow and methodical and, I don't know, in some ways almost scarier.
Yeah, I'm going to agree with that because, like, I don't know, some zombie movies you see, zombies are dumb.
Yeah.
And it's like, these ones, they know how to get to you.
Yeah. Yeah, and it is. You're right. This is oftentimes regarded as like the first like modern day zombie movie. What we think of zombies today kind of goes all the way back to, to this Romero film. But you're right. Like, because he's kind of writing the rules of zombies as he goes, like, there haven't been the offshoots yet of like fast zombies and like dumb zombies, and it's like, but this one they were ghouls. They actually don't even call them zombies, they use the word ghouls a lot. But yeah, like they weren't opposed to using tools, and like early on they pick up large rocks to break out the headlights of a vehicle, so like you could tell there's a semblance of intelligence there that they're utilizing still. But this is just kind of that real slow, never tiring, unstoppable force kind of thing.
Yeah.
And because there aren't any zombie movies prior to this one, our protagonists don't know the rules either. You see that in a lot of modern day stuff. They figure out like, oh, you gotta get him in the head. Like, it's almost like everybody knows you have to get a zombie in the head.
Yeah.
So even if it's a movie where it's zombies for the first time ever, they still quickly figure out you gotta get him in the head. This one takes a while.
Mm-hmm.
Takes a while. Man, do I love this movie. I love this movie. I'm curious what your stance is, only because it is older and it is a little slower, and there's a little bit of gore, but it's not red and juicy.
Right.
But it definitely lays the groundwork for every zombie movie afterwards. Siblings, Barbara and Johnny, are tasked by their mother to drive out to their father's grave in some rural Pennsylvania cemetery. It's like several hours away from home.
Yeah.
She is fine with going because she's kind of sentimental. He doesn't find any positives in the trip because they're doing it for her. She won't go. The mom won't go. And he's just basically complaining, which I can understand.
Same. Yeah.
It's like, why don't you go 3 hours to Dad's grave to put flowers down? Because I want to remember him.
Yes.
So Johnny's just like, this is a pain. The car radio hasn't been working, so it's probably just a very boring drive. Barbara doesn't seem to be very good company.
No.
But Johnny picks up pretty quick that Barbara's just uncomfortable in the cemetery, which again is normal.
Yeah.
I don't think that's too far-fetched.
No,
people
not at all.
Knowing that you're walking across a lawn that is you're literally 6 feet above corpses.
Yeah.
Is uncomfortable. So he's kind of teasing her about, just the ghouls and, just like, again, nobody knows what a zombie is yet. So, literally nobody knows what a zombie is. And so he's just kind of messing with her. My absolutely favorite line in this movie, and it's stood the test of time. It gets picked up all over the place. Is when he says, "They're coming to get you, Barbara," and she's like, "Stop it, Johnny." They're adults, like they're full-fledged, like late 20s,
Yeah.
early 30s adults, and he's just messing with his sister. And they see a guy, an older guy, walking in the graveyard, and he's messaged like, "There's one of them now," and kind of leaves her as this guy's approaching. Well, he attacks her.
Yeah.
He attacks Barbara, and Johnny does a basic. I don't think they get a lot of credit. I think the actors that play Barbara and Johnny, Judith O'Dea is who plays Barbara, and who plays Johnny. I don't think it matters. Yeah, it doesn't matter. But Judith O'Dea plays Barbara, and it's such a perfect reenactment of siblings.
Yeah.
Like, he's messing with her nonstop, but then as soon as somebody else messes with her, he doesn't even hesitate. He just jumps right into the fray, gets her away from him, and starts wrestling with this guy, because that's all we know so far is it's a guy who very realistically slams Johnny's head against a gravestone. That hurt to watch. Every time I watch this movie, that hurts to watch. The sound effects crew did a great job of putting in a really dense thud, and you're like, oh, he's not alive. Like marble doesn't give.
No.
And so Judith is running, or not Judith, Barbara. Judith is the actress. Barbara's running. This man chases her. She gets in the car, crashes the car, and she sees a farmhouse, takes off towards the farmhouse, and this guy keeps following her. So it's terror at right from this jump.
Yeah. This is where I felt like it was a lot different than the ones that I've seen, just because usually if they don't, I felt like when he got knocked off of the car, he would have gone and done something else.
Yeah, but redirected his efforts.
Yes, but he had one goal in mind, and it was Barbara.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Zombies a lot of times today, even in movies like The Walking Dead or whatever, or not movies, shows like The Walking Dead. You're absolutely right. They're kind of out of sight, out of mind. You can outrun. If you can get out of the vicinity of a zombie today, then they just kind of forget you were even there and move on to something else. But you're right. This initial zombie is nope, that I'm after you. I don't know how he kept up with her, because she was sprinting, then she was driving, then she was sprinting again, and she no more than gets in the house and he's cutting through the yard.
Yes. I'm here.
But whatever. It would have been pretty boring to see him take another half hour to catch up.
Yeah.
And so she gets in this house, tries to secure herself, because the house is wide open, goes to run upstairs, and she finds the woman that owns the house. And really your first bit of gore in the movie.
Yeah.
She's half eaten. Her face, her head, she's just laying there half decayed. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Whatever got to her
a while ago.
A while ago. And so she's trapped in this house, basically. Kind of shuts the doors, doesn't know where to go. Looks out the windows. It's now quite a bit of time later, because it was still daytime when she got there. It's nighttime now. And she's looking out the windows, and there's more and more of these monsters. Yeah. These zombies showing up. I don't know why. Don't know how. But you figure she came from the cemetery. So we know that there's a supply of dead bodies nearby.
Yeah. This is where we are introduced to our second... our second main character, the one who's with us, Ben.
Right.
And he kind of is the savior through it all.
Yeah, he's got some savvy to him.
Yeah.
He's got a survivor mentality.
Yeah, he's let's board these windows up, let's get let's get stuff going. He sets he puts a chair out there and sets it on fire. I mean, he just, I mean, and that, like, drives these zombies away because, they're scared of the fire. So,
I think Barbara, when it comes to fight or flight, Barbara clearly is flight, and Ben's more fight. Like, you feel like he's been paying a little bit of attention. He realizes they don't like fire, they don't like bright lights.
And he kills a few.
Finally, because he wasted how many rounds from that rifle just shooting him in the chest. It's kind of cool, though, because you'd see they call it a squib, when you've got the blood pack to like detonate, so you could, because you obviously get, I'm gonna peel the onion layer back a little bit. Listeners and viewers, they don't actually shoot people in the movies, or at least they try not to shoot people in the movies. So they use these blood packs on charges called squibs. So, like, he'll shoot them and they'll kind of take a step back and then just keep coming, and you're like, oh man, like, what do you do?
Yeah.
What I mean, like, seriously, put yourself on the spot. What do you do?
I would be like so drained from running and being so worried, I'd just let him have me. Like, no. What's the use? Like, just let me die.
Right. Like,
that.
It's inevitable.
Yeah. This, like, Barbara, I don't know. I get annoyed easily, so maybe it's just me. But she annoyed the heck out of me the whole rest of the movie. The way that she just sits there, and I get, she's in shock. Like, her brother was just killed in front of her. Yeah. There's these people just, like, she's in shock. But still, like, she's useless.
That's the word I was going to pick. She is absolutely useless. And almost worse than useless. Yeah. Because she's a drag.
And it's just like, she's just sitting there like...
Yeah.
And I'm like...
Just oddball comments. And,
yeah. Like,
Johnny likes to drive. And it's like, woman, like...
Yeah.
You're of no use to us, but we still have to pay attention to you. So you really do drag us down.
Yeah. I don't know. Like, I didn't hate her because I don't really know her. But I really was annoyed by her. Character here.
Yeah, fair enough.
But we head into, they're boarding everything up. They are pretty safe upstairs, I would say.
Right.
And we get a surprise from the cellar.
Yeah, which would scare me. If I just put all this work together to board up the inside of the house to secure the inside, and now I'm hearing something from inside.
Yeah, exactly. And these two men come up, Harry and Tom.
Yeah.
And they're talking about how they've been in the cellar this whole time, which of course irks Ben because he's like, you guys couldn't have come up and help us with all of the stuff that's been going on. And Harry's kid and wife are down there as well.
Right. Yeah, I won't say any of the acting in this movie is great, which is very common for an independent film because a lot of times you get who you can get.
Yes.
And so, but I am going to say though that George Romero did an excellent job of establishing the type of person each character is, like, immediately. Mm-hmm. As soon as Barbara gets to the house, we recognize she's useless.
Yes.
And she's going to remain useless for the duration of the film. Mm-hmm. Ben is a survivor. As soon as we meet Tom and Harry, we get the vibe, Harry just sucks.
Yeah, and Tom is just kind of dumb as well. Like,
yeah, it's like, I want to help. Let me help.
Yeah, like, Mr. Cooper. Okay, Mr. Cooper. Like,
yeah. I'm not good enough to be in charge of anything, but I'm gonna go with the tide on this one.
And Harry's daughter Karen has been injured. She can't walk. She's in the basement.
Yeah. Well, and they even admit she's been bitten. Yeah. But again, because this is the first zombie movie, we don't know what that means.
Yeah.
Like, those rules haven't been set yet.
They're talking about, like, because Ben's like, well, they're really weak. Like, they're having this debate of if they go to the cellar, stay upstairs. So Ben's like, I just killed a few of them, like, with a crowbar. Like, we're fine.
Right.
But then Tom's like, they overturned our car. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, my kid's ill and sick because she was bit by one. So, like, no, come to the cellar.
I can see both sides.
Yes.
The problem is the time they are wasting arguing over this, the amount of zombies outside is increasing.
Yes.
And I think that has always been the trouble with zombies in movies. It's the sheer number of them. Because they both are right. Ben is right. They fall easy when it's 1-on-1 or 1-on-2.
Yeah.
But one zombie didn't overturn Harry's car. It was several. And this is where the problems arise.
Yeah. They've got a radio going talking about
which way what team would you have been on at this
I would
point?
have been on staying upstairs, just because I do agree, like, if you go to the cellar, there is absolutely nowhere else for you to go.
Yeah, I agree. I would not have gone second floor upstairs.
Right.
Because that's almost as bad as the cellar.
Yes.
But yeah, absolutely. I would have been like, you know what? We've got windows, we've got doors. If they come in one, we could go out the other. But yeah, I agree. Like, we hunker down in the cellar. We got nowhere to go.
There's no escape.
Unless this house was like the Airbnb last week.
Yeah, you could just lose that.
Where there's secret passages and you're set.
I'm curious. And maybe it comes out in a zombie movie. I don't know. Maybe. Could you, like... Sometimes I wonder, like, couldn't you just pretend to be a zombie and, like, walk with them?
Mm-hmm. We haven't seen that in a movie yet, but yes, that is a trope that's been picked up.
Okay.
Of like, because zombies are attracted to you being alive, and so you see a lot in some movies that they will mask themselves in. A lot of times, what they'll do is, because Walking Dead does it when it's convenient. Why they wouldn't just do it all the time, I don't know.
Exactly.
But they'll take a zombie and they'll kill it. But then they'll gut the zombie and cover themselves in zombie guts.
Okay.
And then just kind of walk slowly and shuffle along.
Yeah.
And they'll just go right with the crowd.
Yeah.
They'll do that one episode to get from point A to point B. And then the next episode, when they need to get from point B to point C, they just magically forget they ever did that. And then they go back to struggling to survive. I'm like, guys.
Yeah, like, you just did this.
Yeah, you just did it last week. But no, you're absolutely right that they could. And this, I don't know if Romero zombies are that gullible yet.
Yeah.
In this movie, because again, these zombies seem a little bit more advanced.
Yes.
Because we haven't dumbed down zombies yet. But yes, that does happen in movies somewhat frequently now that it's been established of, like, they're dumb enough you can hide among them.
Yeah, that's what I was wondering, like, this whole time. I mean,
I don't know if I would try it with these zombies, though.
Right, yeah. And it wouldn't make for a good movie, which is why I'm like, they probably don't, but it's also just, I mean, we as viewers know, don't go down the dark hallway. Well, why don't you just pretend to be one? Right. But meanwhile, on the radio, it's talking about just, like, these brutal murders going on, everything. Tom has decided that he's going to stay upstairs, so he's helping Ben. They're just boarding up like we talked about, windows, getting everything done, and Harry is, like, trying to get this gun because he's going to take over and be the boss.
Right, that's all he needs is this rifle.
Zombies, like you had mentioned, like, they're just increasing in numbers outside of this house. And we get to the army on the radio had kind of talked about, like, cannibalism, and it's like what they think is, like, dead people coming back.
Right.
And it's a lot. So
one thing that I do admire about this is like, we are seeing this, like, uprising, like, from the start. And so it's not like zombies have obliterated the world. It's like just starting, and so you do have, again, we still have radio service, we still have television service. You know, it's like there's still civilization happening. Zombies haven't dominated yet.
Right.
And you see that in a lot of movies. Everything is like zombie apocalypse, you know. Even Dawn of the Dead, where we covered that seemingly just started. Remember, that's a sequel to this movie.
Mm-hmm.
But even then, it's like you blink and suddenly zombies are everywhere.
Yeah.
And so that's kind of cool that, you know, that humans haven't just laid down and given up. Like, they're forming posses, and, you know, we're gonna fight fire with fire. Also important to state here that we missed, and it's very understandable we missed it, but Ben is the only black character in this movie.
Yes.
You know, Ben is this is 1968, and George Romero has cast a black man as the lead, which we're talking shortly after civil rights, and you know, it's a very contentious time in America, to where you're asking viewers to say, "Hey, here's a house full of white people and one black man."
And he's
so
the protagonist as well.
And he's clearly the smartest and strongest character here.
Yeah.
And so while nobody in the movie mentions skin color and race, they don't have to.
Yeah.
Just the way that they handle each other. There's a lot of social commentary here about race, because really, like, we see one African American character in the entire movie.
Yeah.
And so it's like, wow, I don't really want to trust him. They never say why they don't want to trust him, but it's almost implicit that, like, well, it's probably because Ben's black. Like,
yeah.
Harry seems like that kind of guy.
Yes, he does.
Without saying it, but you could read right through that thick racism.
Yeah. And so on the radio, they've talked about how, like, these can be stopped with something to the head. Like,
yeah, blunt force.
Yeah, or by being burned. So he,
Ben.
I don't even know. Yeah, Ben. Forget where I'm going here.
Well, like, they also had mentioned on the radio of all these, like, rescue and refuge centers that are popping up.
Yes.
Like, and they're dropping, like, it's on TV, like, almost like a school cancellation. They've got a ticker tape going across the bottom of the screen. If you're in this county, go to this place. If you're in this county, go to this place. The Army, the National Guard are set up. You know, the police are there. Like, where you're here. So again, it seems like there's pockets of this, but we're in a rural farmhouse in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, we can't get out.
With no running vehicles. It's like, yeah, it's real easy if you're already near the cities. But yeah, and they start to elaborate a little bit on where they think all this comes from, which is important, I think, because if you're going to make a zombie movie, that completely changes zombie lore. Mm-hmm. We mentioned last week that, like, prior to this, zombies were like voodoo mechanisms. Like, you know, we're going to reanimate the dead for our own, like, slave purposes using voodoo. You know, the scientists in this movie, it might be space radiation. It's like they don't really know, but they're attributing it to, like, this space probe on its way from Venus or something like that, you know. So it's kind of hokey. It's like, oh, okay, but it doesn't really matter what the reason is, because there's reanimated dead people trying to get in and kill us. So yeah, we have mentioned, you know, we've also met. Is it Julie or Judy?
Judy and Helen.
Judy. Yeah. We meet the ladies downstairs. Tom's girlfriend, Judy. They're just a nice, polite, pretty young couple. You know, Tom and Helen, you get the idea. Helen has long been tired of Harry's antics. Like, you just, like, she's over him.
Yeah.
And so Ben's got a plan. Like, look, if you guys are going to go down to the basement, go. go. But we're not helping you. So realizing that Karen is downstairs, that's the daughter. She's been bitten. She's not well. Realizing he needs to get medical supplies, he's like, I have an idea. There's a truck outside that I came in. I don't know much about it, but luckily Tom's like, I got the truck, no problem. So Ben and Tom have a plan of there's a gas pump out by the barn. We're going to take the truck over there. We're going to fuel up the truck. We're going to come back. Everybody's going to load up, and we're just going to go.
Yep.
Like, it'll be fine. They walk. They do. All these zombies walk.
Yeah.
That's all they do. So they get Harry on board. Harry's going to go upstairs. They take some time filling up, jars with, like, lamp oil, I'm guessing. Because if they're filling those jars with gasoline, they're idiots.
Yeah.
Like, the gasoline you need for the truck?
Yeah.
I'm guessing it's like lamp oil, because they did use some lamps and things. So they're making some Molotov cocktails. They figure, let's firebomb them to scare them away from the truck. And then Harry and Ben will go, or Tom and Ben will go. Makes perfect sense. I don't know what's up with Judy.
Yeah.
Like this. This is just kind of ridiculous. The plan is working just fine, no problem at all. Judy decides, I gotta go with Tom.
I want to go.
I gotta go.
Like no,
she's
no.
She's almost down in the basement. Even was like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
So Ben's like, fine, come on. They're already out in the truck. They're fighting off these zombies. Harry's doing his part. The kids are doing their part. Like, it's all working to plan. And then they get out there. They get the lock open. And they're fueling up the truck. And then, like, as he's going to fuel up the truck, like, Tom hits the pump a little quick and he starts spilling gas all over the place.
Yeah.
And they had a torch that they have been fighting the zombies off with. And that torch hits the open gasoline and catches the truck on fire. Still not terrible.
Yeah.
But Tom and Judy are in the truck, and Ben's getting ready to fuel up the truck again. We're fine. Well, then Tom's like, I got to get the truck away from the gas pump. Understandable. Like you mentioned earlier, Tom not the brightest. He means well.
Yeah.
But he's not the brightest. He's probably the kind of kid that would spill something and then, like, grab a clean dish towel to try to clean it up with. Like, dude, use paper towels. He means well. Well, the truck explodes. Tom and Judy explode in the truck, and zombies get a buffet.
Yeah, they are now supper.
Yeah, like, Ben just, like, has no problem really getting back to the house by himself. Yeah. Because, again, the zombies are like, free food. Like, Ben gets back to the house. Harry has boarded up the door.
Yeah.
And has started to head down towards the basement. He hesitates. This is a little bit of AJ from last week here. Of, like, here's a terrible human being that has just this moment of clarity.
Yeah.
To be like, I should probably let him in. Well, about that time, Ben barges in anyway. And catches Harry indecisive.
Yeah.
And kind of comically proceeds to just beat the tar out of Harry.
Yeah. And
like, they don't even board the house back up yet.
No.
Like,
no, I feel like this is where chaos kind of starts on the screen. Not that it hasn't been chaos already, but pure chaos, because this is where, like, Harry loses the gun and Ben's got it back. They're fighting. Ben's like, you know what? Just go downstairs. Shoots Harry.
Yeah, just kills him.
Like, I mean, which, you know what? Good for you, Ben. Like, he's just another one slowing you down.
Yeah, and it was. I remember the first time watching this, it surprised me because Ben's character at this point has been like, we got to get everybody out of here. But yeah, he just is like, enough is enough.
Yeah, this is
like you fully intended on leaving me to die.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
and it's like, I can't trust you, and that's really what it boils down to.
Mm-hmm.
We already have humans versus zombies. We can't have humans versus humans too.
No.
So he's like, okay, I'm done with you. It does, just shoots him.
Yeah. Harry stumbles down the basement stairs, ends up just kind of dying by his daughter that has been unconscious this whole time, pretty much.
Right.
Karen. Oh no, this is
Helen.
Helen. Yes, this is where
Helen's downstairs with her daughter.
Yes, and Karen. This is where Karen. Like rises.
Yeah, she
like,
died
from the dead.
Like,
she died.
Like she succumbed to her zombie bite.
Yes.
And is now a zombie herself.
Yes, and so this is where she gets up. She starts like eating her dad, and then Helen goes downstairs to find Harry dead and eaten,
and Karen eating him.
Yeah, and she's like, no, like not my kid, you know,
right.
Which I get it. You
freeze.
Yes, and she picked up this, like, she tripped, Helen did.
Yeah.
Karen got this, like, gardening tool.
Yeah, it grabs this, like, trowel.
Yeah, and just kills her.
Yeah, it just stabs her, like, repeatedly. Just, like, and you don't see it. Like, they show it in shadows.
Right.
Of her, you know, rising above her head with this, this hand shovel and just laying into her.
Yeah. And so we head back upstairs, and Barbara has snapped out of her.
Yeah, she's fine now. Suddenly, like,
whoa.
Yeah,
like, oh,
sorry,
guess
guys.
I better help. And she's taken by Johnny.
By her brother. Yeah, by her brother. Yeah. Like, if they didn't establish that Johnny was wearing driving gloves early in the movie, you wouldn't have even noticed, because his glasses, he looked more handsome as a zombie.
Yes.
He's kind of doofish. But yeah, so yeah, Johnny, like you mentioned, like, Ben's trying to board the house back up. Well, he doesn't have Tom. He doesn't have Harry. It's like it's just him.
Yeah. Early
in the movie, it was okay because there was just a couple of zombies. Now it's like the full force of that cemetery. Mm-hmm. And little old Barbara's not much help.
No, she's not.
So yeah, like you said, she just gets grabbed.
Yeah, and it is what it is.
Yeah, John, like, she's pulled out into the water. It's like, you know, she's lunch.
Yeah.
Like, she's gone.
Yeah. So he then goes down to the cellar.
Yeah, Ben. He's the only survivor left.
And he ends up shooting Harry and Helen. I don't understand.
And Karen.
Did he shoot Karen? Because I could not.
They weren't gonna show him shoot a kid.
Okay,
yeah,
because I was like, the whole time, like, I was like, "Where's Karen? Where's Karen?"
Right.
Like, okay, so he shoots the zombies downstairs. And just falls asleep down there, to where he is awakened. What we assume is like the next day.
Yeah, it's overnight. He's like, because the zombies they've taken the house.
Yeah.
Like, it's so awful for Ben, because he was team upstairs the whole movie.
Yes.
And then ended up having to do Harry's plan.
Yeah.
To survive. Like, that doesn't, to me, that doesn't say Harry was right.
No, and I think, like, because Ben had said, like, we can go to the cellar.
Yeah.
Like, we can go, but
yeah, if we have to retreat, we can.
But if we go down there, then there's no second choice. And so
luckily this cellar door had not one, not two, but three crossbar braces.
Yeah.
Wow, like, this house was built with the anticipation of, you're going to have to come down here to survive.
Yes. And it's just a bunch of like army,
Yeah, it's those posses we talked about.
Out searching for people and their dogs, and they head into the house. Ben,
they're shooting zombies outside.
yes.
Like
Ben heads upstairs
because he's heard all the. Basically, he hears the rescue coming.
Yes, so he heads up to be rescued, and I liked the movie until this part.
I was wondering what you'd think of this.
Where he is a fighter and a survivor the entire time. He is saving and carrying everybody's dead weight.
Right.
And then they shoot him in the head and drag him off to a pile to be burned with the rest of the zombies.
Right. They didn't know he was alive.
And that is that. And Pedro was sitting on my lap, and I'm like, Pedro, nope, I hate it. I do not like that.
It's just gut-wrenching. It really is. Like, it was an ending designed to elicit reaction. Like, it wasn't... It just was... It's shocking. Like, you're watching this, and you watch this guy muster the strength to survive. Out of 7 of them in the house, he's the only survivor, and the biggest mistake he made was leaving the basement.
Yeah, like, he overcame every obstacle thrown at him.
Mm-hmm.
And then, he walked through a door.
And
that was it.
And the thing is, you really can't even fault the posse.
No, you can't, because
just like, there's something moving in the house over there, but take it out, because we've been killing zombies left and right. Like, you don't blame them.
No.
And then, boom, there goes Ben. Like, bullet to the head. There's no way to tell if he was alive or dead.
No.
And then, like you said, just kind of the snippets over the end credits of them going in, picking him up, tossing him on the fire, and you're just gutted. You're just watching this movie, and you're like, this is awful.
I know, I felt so bad for him.
Yeah. And that's it. That's Night of the Living Dead. Like, it's absolutely gut-wrenching to be witness to all that he had survived, and then just even his trip through the house with, like, what am I seeing out there? I can't hear their conversations.
No.
So he doesn't know to speak up, and then he's just milling through the house. It was a house full of zombies, so it's no surprise.
Yeah.
And he is dead. R.I.P. Ben.
Such a bummer.
Yeah. Very, very much so. Okay. What would you do as a teacher this going on? Like, normally we're dropping lessons or whatever, but I feel like if I live right next door to a cemetery.
Yeah.
So, like, if something like this were to happen in our town, because again, the news crews were still working, the TV crew, so I just feel like this just happened.
Yeah.
Like Ben said, he was at a diner. Like, when they attacked the diner. So it's like life was normal, and then suddenly it wasn't normal.
Honestly.
So if we were at school.
Okay, if we were at school, man, this is hard, because it's like these zombies are, like I have said, like, so different. Like, any other movie, throw my kids out the window, just tell them to run. This one, I don't know. Like, I would probably try. I mean, I don't have boards in my classroom, but, like, I would try and block all my windows and everything just so they couldn't see me.
Right. You're at a disadvantage with windows. This is one of the central disadvantages, or the elementary disadvantages. I would, obviously, the first thing I would do would slide that, like,
that lock
internal
thing.
That little door lock.
Yes.
Curious to see how much, like, first of all, they got to get into the school.
Yeah.
Which, okay, as long as they're not buzzed in, we should be okay there. Mm-hmm. Because again, these things, they come at you when they know you're there.
Yes.
So, but it's just weird. It's like you look outside, like you look out your classroom window, and you see something over in the tree line, Like somebody coming out of the tree line just shuffling. Like, what do you do?
You know, if they're coming from the tree line, then I'm going to Sonya's office in the little gym.
Yeah.
And I am doing the slide thing on both of those doors because it is just cement.
Oh yeah.
Blocks in there. Like you're not.
Yeah, they're not coming through.
Like you're not getting that.
What do you do with your kids?
They'll go with me.
I know, but it's like, what do you do with those kindergartners? You know you can't keep them quiet.
No, you can't. And it is, yeah.
And how do you explain it to them?
You just, you take all the snacks as well. And then you're like, here, just eat these snacks. And then they are quiet.
Until they're done snack. Like it, before they become a snack. Like, I mean, you just, what do you do? Like,
it is.
It's just, yeah.
Although I do have a baseball bat in my classroom, like if an intruder were to come, so yeah, maybe I could lock my kids in my bathroom, and head out there.
Yeah, I don't know. Like we talk about obviously active shooter drills, and those are obviously scary enough.
Yes.
But it's like, what do you do? Thankfully, we don't have to worry about it, but what do you do if suddenly the zombie overrun started at 10:30 on a Tuesday?
Yeah.
What do you do? Because you don't even know it at first.
No, you don't.
And you look out the window, you see a couple people coming out of the woods.
Heck.
You call administration, they go out to check on it, and then you watch them take down administration.
I mean, sometimes some parents that drop their kids off look like zombies. So
that's true.
Michelle could buzz a zombie in.
Yeah. I don't know. It's interesting. Having an office, I guess it depends on what time of day. Like if it's morning, I obviously would do as much as I can to help. If it's afternoon, where I'm at the high school and I have windows, I don't know. I would honestly probably try to figure out a way to do the whole like mask ourselves and walk against the grain. But I could probably get high school kids on board with that easier than you get kindergartners.
Yeah.
So
like if I were to block the windows, I would have to pick up my kitchen set, put it up. Like I'm doing all this by myself. I am.
Oh yeah.
I am Ben, and all of my kindergartners are Barbara. At that point,
they all are Barbara. Yeah. They all are Barbara. A lot of crying.
Yeah.
Oh, man. Thankfully, we don't have to worry about it, though. What do you grade this? I've been curious.
Which is why I have not said anything. Like, usually I'm like, oh, I like this movie. I wasn't a fan of this movie. This one is getting an A- for me.
Yay!
I did. I really like this movie because, like I had said last week, like the black and white, it gives you like, it sparks your imagination to be
kind of eerie.
Yes, but these zombies were scarier. Even though there wasn't a lot of gore, the sound effects were great. Like when Karen is stabbing her mom, like you can hear it, you just don't see it. And I don't know. I think I like, even though it wasn't a super fast movie, it still had some of that. It still had suspense, like we're boarding the things up. Zombies' hands are coming through the windows as we're boarding. I really liked this movie, and I think I definitely watched it with the open mind of like this is from a long time ago. Like if this were filmed a couple years ago, no, but this were from a while ago.
They did a remake of this movie. Night of the Living Dead. They filmed it in 1990. And they tried to do it as close to shot for shot as they could. It's in color. It's a lot gorier. But it was also done as a love letter to George Romero. Like, the people that made it were like, we love this movie so much. But they completely changed Barbara's character for the remake.
Okay.
Like, she's the BA. And... like, Ben is just as resourceful as he is in this one, but Barbara she's the female hero.
Okay.
Which, it's a good movie, too. Like, I'm a bigger fan of this one, but that movie's got a lot more gore. That movie's got a lot, it's still very good. for a remake.
Yes.
And so I think it was 1990 that came out. I'm gonna give this movie an A. And so it's one of my favorite things about this movie is it introduces a new monster.
Yeah.
Not like a Freddy or a Jason or Michael Myers or a Chucky, but just like you've got this is 1968. You go all the way back to the early 30s. That's when you've got Dracula, Frankenstein, Wolfman, Mummy. And that's really about it. Like, you got a whole bunch of vampire movies after Dracula that are all pretty much Dracula.
Yeah.
You've got, then you run into you run into a bunch of sequels. You got Bride of Frankenstein and Dracula's Daughters. And it's like everybody is running with the Wolfman, Dracula, Frankenstein, because those are the only monsters we had. Occasionally someone would throw just a skeleton in a movie, and it used to terrify people. Like, just a skeleton.
Yeah.
You'd see a skeleton, like, just skull and bones hanging there. People are like, oh my God. You'd get ghosts.
Yeah.
You'd get ghosts in movies too. So, but it was all pretty mild. No blood, no gore, very mild. Then you hit like the 50s, where you start seeing, and we saw it a little bit in this movie with the explanation of the zombies, but you get into the 50s and you start to get into your like sci-fi like radioactivity stuff. You start like giant creatures, giant ants, and giant this and giant. It's like, but again, it's all like drive-in movie style, so it's scary-ish, but really 68. Romero Zombies introduced a new monster to us. Zombies.
Yeah.
And what's so unique about zombies is Dracula and vampires have a set of rules. They feed on blood. They can't be out during the day.
Right, and I've never even seen a vampire movie. We'll get
I've
there. Seen Twilight, but that really doesn't count.
That
but
doesn't
even
count.
I know, like, the little things, like, the daylight, they say, like, garlic, little things like that. And again,
right.
like, I've never seen a movie.
But it's like, but like, virtually every vampire movie has to play by those rules.
Yes.
Or else the fans revolt, because it's like, that's not, like, even Twilight, people are like, whoa, 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 whoa.
Yeah.
Like, no, you can't go out in the daylight and sparkle. Like, that's not a vampire. Werewolves have they've got a gypsy curse, and they can only be killed on a silver bullet, and the full moon, and it's like, so there's sets of rules for all of these. And Frankenstein's monster was created. Like, that's not even, like, that was put together by pieces of dead people and reanimated. Not a zombie, but just a reanimated being. And that's what they played by for a very long time. And then zombies come along, and really the only rule is you got to get them in the head.
Yeah. There's
no time of day restrictions. There's no time of month restrictions. They can be big cities. They can be small cities. They can be rural. So it really opened up this new monster that is a completely different playground to play with. Of like, the rule is they have to be dead. I mean, and even in this movie they establish, even if you die, you come back.
Yeah.
And so it's one of the things I really love about this is just the creation of this new monster. Like, zombies. Like, it's just such a generic monster. Like, there's been so many spin-offs of it. I mean, we watched Anna and the Apocalypse over Christmas. Like, it's a zombie musical. Like, there's just zombies. It's just so cool of like, take dead people. Yeah, I gotcha. Bring them back to life. Oh, that's scary. And so, Night of the Living Dead really did that. And so we wouldn't have the zombies we have today without this movie, which, I mean, by itself, just being the tent pole for that type of monster is pretty awesome.
It is.
There were vampire movies before Dracula.
Okay.
you know, Dracula just happens to be. I don't think there were vampires before the book Dracula. I don't know. But the book was out way before the movie was. So people were already making vampire movies. Nosferatu is an excellent movie, silent film. Actually, in my opinion, way scarier than Dracula. You know, like Frankenstein, that book came out a long time ago, and you had mummies, and it's like those kind of things. But it's like zombies. That's new. Like that's kind of scary. So kudos to the crew. So yeah, 1968's Night of the Living Dead, which spins off into our next movie for next episode.
Yes.
Where we are going to watch my favorite zombie movie of all time. 1985 or 86.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, it's I'll tell you in a second. 1985. 1985's The Return of the Living Dead. It's more of a horror comedy.
Yeah, it was.
I love this movie so much. Love it so much. But yeah, so 1985's Return of the Living Dead. Next week, when we get to that episode, I'll kind of go into a little bit of why this movie is called what it is and why it became that way. But until then, yeah. So A- for you, A for me. I'm really glad you liked it. I hope that your grade was honest. You weren't just like giving it extra points.
No,
so.
I think I don't know. I have really enjoyed all the zombie movies we've watched.
Good, especially because you're like, I didn't think I was going to be a zombie person.
I know.
And there's so many zombies because again, like I said, you could just do whatever you want with them.
Yeah.
Like there's a zombie movie come out not too long ago called Warm Bodies, which is a Romeo and Juliet zombie story.
Okay.
That's what it is.
That sounds familiar.
It's sweet. It's really sweet. Like, he dies and she's still alive. I actually think her name is Juliet and his name is R because that's the sound he makes. R for Romeo. But like he cares for her.
Yeah.
And like over the course of the movie, like his caring for her is starting to bring him back to life.
Okay.
And so that's kind of how they like the movie almost like uses love as a cure for zombieism. Like if we can find somebody for each of these zombies to be infatuated with, then they can overcome their zombieism. It's a really sweet, touching movie, but it's like it's a romance.
Yeah.
Like it really is. And not a bad one at that. But we're not going to cover that next week. We're going to cover The Return of the Living Dead. Facebook, Instagram, Twitter. That's where you can find us on social media. Like, subscribe, comment, all that stuff you're supposed to do. You got anything to send us out with?
Nope. Just have a good week.
All right. So we'll be back next week with The Return of the Living Dead. So for Education, I'm Mike.
And I'm Courtney.
And we'll see you guys next week.
Bye.